Hello and welcome to the eOrganic webinar, Sourcing Organic Seed Just Got Easier, an introduction to the Organic Seed Finder, which will be presented by Christina Hubbard and Chet Boroff. In this presentation, you will learn about a new database which will serve as a valuable tool for the organic community by providing organic seed availability information. My name is Deb Haliba, and I work at the University of Vermont Extension, and I will be moderating today's webinar. I also coordinate the dairy team for eOrganic. And now I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. Christina Hubbard is the Director of Advocacy and Communications for the Organic Seed Alliance, and she is facilitating the Organic Seed Finder project. Chet Boroff is the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Official Seed Certifying Agencies. The association provides seed certification and related services to the global seed industry, and it will manage the the Organic Seed Finder. Thank you both for joining us today. I'm going to hand it right over to Christina.
Thank you, Deb, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I see that we have a good crowd with us this afternoon. For those of you who are not familiar with Organic Seed Alliance, I just wanted to tell you a bit about our organization before we jumped into the database. We're a national nonprofit organization with the mission of advancing the ethical development and stewardship of seed. And we accomplish this mission through 3 program areas, which include collaborative research, education, and advocacy. At the heart of our work is a close engagement with organic farmers, as well as other professionals in the seed industry, be they university researchers or members of the private seed industry. And we work to advance field-based research and education with these partners, as well as the broader dialogue within the organic community to talk about and advance the dialogue around the importance of breeding and producing seed that's appropriate for organic systems. In this first slide, you'll see references to our State of Organic Seed project. Last year, we released a report called State of Organic Seed, and this report served as the first comprehensive look at the challenges and opportunities in building the organic seed sector. A key component of our State of Organic Seed project, which is an ongoing project, is to develop diverse stakeholder involvement in implementing solutions that result in improved quality as well as increased use of certified organic seed. Now, this report, which I should mention, you can download at seedalliance.org. That's seedalliance.org. The report includes data from a number of sources, including a farmer survey that we conducted in 45 states, questionnaires from researchers, certifiers, food and seed industry representatives, as well as farm and food policy experts. We also hosted a day-long State of Organic Seed symposium to talk about this data as well as next steps. As you'll see in this slide, I provided just a snapshot of the data we collected. One in particular I think is relevant to today's discussion, which is that of the farmers responding to an organic farmer seed survey, we found that only about 20% of those responding use 100% certified organic seed, and the remaining 80% of respondents pointed to a lack of availability or equivalency. Now, we know that USDA's National Organic Program requires the use of organically produced seed when it's commercially available, but we also know that the organic seed sector was in its infancy when the program began. So while there's been a lot of progress that we're excited about within the industry and research world to better meet the different needs of organic farmers, we do have a ways to go to catch the organic seed sector up with the demands of our growing organic food industry. So with that in mind, following the publication of our State of Organic Seed report last year, Organic Seed Alliance convened a number of working groups to carry out some of the recommendations identified through our research and articulated in this report. And one of these working groups has been meeting regularly since March 2011 to design and implement the database that you're going to learn about today. I have to say it's been pretty exciting to watch this project come to fruition. The organic community has been supportive of launching a new organic seed database for several years now. We've also seen the support from leadership committees such as the National Organic Standards Board, members who recommended a database in 2005 and reiterated this recommendation again in 2008. And this database was also a high priority action item coming out of our State of Organic Seed Symposium that I mentioned earlier. So moving ahead, why organic seed? Of course, I have to use this opportunity to make a quick plug for why Organic Seed Alliance believes that organic seed is fundamental to the ongoing success and growth of the broader organic food industry. We believe that organic plant breeding and seed production provides organic farmers with optimum genetics for their systems. We know that organic farmers face different challenges than non-organic farmers, yet they often rely on seed that's bred and produced in non-organic systems. In short, we believe that organic seed that meets organic farmers' regional agronomic challenges, market needs, as well as regulations, is ultimately fundamental, again, to the success of them as farmers, as well as the larger organic food industry. So we hope that the new Organic Seed Finder database will continue to support this ongoing growth of the seed sector, a seed sector that's providing for organic farmers and supports these farmers' ability to consistently meet the National Organic Program's organic seed requirement. Before handing it over to Chet with EOSCA, I just wanted to say that the working group chose to work with the Association of Official Seed Certifying Agencies, largely because of the organization's long history in both seed and database management. EOSCA has the infrastructure and staff capacity in place to host and manage this new online tool, and also has the in-house seed expertise to ensure the needs of participating seed vendors are met. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chet, who I'm sure will tell you a bit more about his organization and unveil Organic Seed Finder to you today.
Okay, well, thank you, Christina, and welcome everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon, and we've been eager to introduce you to the Organic Seed Finder database. I think before moving forward, though, I'd like just to take a moment to explain what our organization is all about, because if you're not very far outside of the seed industry, probably you've never heard of EOSCA before, even though we've been around since 1919. So over those 93 years, we've gained a lot of experience with the seed industry, but we work in the background of the seed industry, providing the certification that leads to varietal purity. And we have offices and of our organization that we represent in 44 of the states in the United States, and then across Canada, South Africa. We have Chile, Argentina, Australia, and New Zealand. And so we're a global organization that works with the seed industry to make sure that seed varieties remain pure, and we have the standards that are used by the seed industry to achieve purity and quality over a wide variety of fields and agricultural crops. So that's what we do, and for many, many years, of course, by virtue of our activities, we've been keeping databases and information about the acreage and location of all sorts of agricultural seeds. About a year ago, when we became aware of the need that the organic industry has in terms of this same type of a database, we contacted the organic organizations, the organic community, and began working then on developing the database that we're introducing to you today. So we're very happy to be a part of this, and on behalf of the board of directors and all of our members across the United States that provide service to the industry, we're glad to be able to take this next step to be able to offer something hopefully of value to the organic seed sector and to encourage and promote its development and its growth as well. Just moving forward here, I want to tell you a little bit about the process that we've gone through as we've put the database together. As we were working with the folks in the organic community, there were several objectives that we wanted to make sure that we were meeting. First of all, we wanted to make sure that what we're putting together is going to be efficient and an easy-to-use database for folks not only on the purchasing side, but also those that would be selling, our seed vendors as well, helping a buyer and seller find one another. We couldn't have done this without the great support and work that came from design, promotions, and funding working group that advised us on how to put together the Organic Seed Finder, And we really appreciate the working relationship and the many hours that these stakeholders have invested into the project, and we're certainly committed to working with them in the future. We couldn't have done it without them, and we certainly wouldn't want to go forward without their continued help and that type of thing. We also want to make sure, and one of our objectives was to make sure that this is a useful tool for the organic certifiers as well. And we know that they need to have access to the availability of the seed inventory, and so we have kept that in mind as well. And we look forward to the input that that part of the industry can give us in the years to come. Talking a little bit about the scope and the features, telling you what's going to be in the database here just before we kind of introduce it to you firsthand. We're going to be providing a listing not only for agricultural field crops, but also vegetables, and then as well as horticultural and herb varieties as well. I think it's important, and I want everyone to understand that the site is not intended for any seed transactions, nor are we going to be able to keep a real-time inventory of seed. That's just much too dynamic and difficult to maintain on a day-to-day basis. But as best we can, what we're going to be doing is providing current listings as they are provided to us by the vendors who have the seed listed on the website. We'll be having frequent contact with the vendors throughout the year to make sure that their listings are as current as possible. But it will be a responsibility of the purchaser at some point in time to make contact with the vendors, and then between them and they can identify what varieties are available and then make that transaction from then. We, of course, will have a dedicated web address, and we wanted to keep it very, very simple in terms of how to find and see if there are the varieties for the organic crops that you're growing. Also, I'll show you in a little bit as we go to some examples of the website. We wanted this to be a resource not only for those directly in the seed industry, but also for our sponsors, suppliers, the USDA National Organic Program, and others who might use this and provide it as another source of information for the organic industry. Moving forward here, if I can get the screen to cooperate with me. Well, I can't, but I'm just going to go ahead and, there we go. They warned me in advance that this would take a little bit of a lag time, and I guess that's the case. I should be more patient. So I think I've covered some of these points before, but once again, I can't say enough how much we enjoyed and value the input in the working groups that worked with us. We've also had some seed companies who have helped us put together our application process. So we have a few live and real listings on the database that have helped us identify how best to get this information from the industry. As I mentioned, we want to make sure that the organic certifiers find value in the database, and so we've also gotten some input from there. At the end of the day, though, we want to make sure that this is always a very straightforward, simple, easy to use, and also easy to manage database so that we can keep our transactional and management costs as low as possible and maintain the value out there for the seed industry. What we are currently doing is that we are populating the background information with real listings. We have a few companies who have begun to send us their applications, and we are certainly encouraging many, many more to contact us and let us know what you would like to list on the Organic Seed Finder database. I'll tell you at the end of the presentation how best to do that. As we go through this process in the coming year and years to come, we want to have the ability to expand it. We're going to add more listings, companies, and hopefully features that everyone will find valuable. And then finally, we will be turning on the website with a public launch the 1st of October. In the meantime, we'll be continuing to work with the seed companies to populate the database and get it ready for that launch date. What I just pulled up now is an actual screenshot from the EOSCA Organic Seed Finder database. And I want to point out a few points on it before we go into maybe an explanation of some of the features of it. I hope from the front page you can see here we've tried to keep it very simple, but some of the things that we've provided links for, on the left-hand navigational bar there will be access for related organizations and certifiers. The USDA NOP can certainly provide information as well. We're going to provide as many links as we can to make sure that this is a valuable resource not only just for finding seed. You'll notice up at the top right-hand corner, we have a little feedback bar there that says that basically if you're looking for a variety but couldn't find it, we're going to give a feedback loop, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Very important on the home page here are down at the bottom a list of the sponsors who have been very generous about giving us some initial startup funds to make sure that the website gets off to a good beginning. And so each of those sponsors and many, many more hopefully will be listed there in that bar of that part of the website, and then with direct links to their website as well. With that, though, I'd like to talk about really what the Finder is all about and how do you find organic seed. So what I'm going to be doing is walking through kind of a few examples using some screenshots, not going live, but really just a screenshot to see how you would find what you might be looking for. I'm going to use the first example here. Let's assume that we're looking for a variety of field crops. Let's say, for instance, that you're an organic corn grower and you have the opportunity to grow basic number 2 yellow corn for an organic dairy. You're looking for seed. You're going to grow it for grain for that dairy. You're in an area of the country where you need something that's about 100-day maturity for that seed, and so you'll go to our website at organicseedfinder.com. What you'll do then is you will go to our home page. I've pulled up a shot of that again. You would move your cursor over the very top little button there that says Field Crops, and so with a click of the mouse, what you would do after you've gotten the cursor there, now it lists, pulls up a list of the field crop varieties that we have on the Organic Seed Finder. Now, of course, for today's purposes, I've got just a relatively small list here, but as time and listings go on, that list will grow. In this case, we're talking only about field crops, and in this case, I'm talking only about corn. So I would click on corn. At that point in time, we bring up some attributes and characteristics that you might be looking for. As I mentioned, you're going to be growing this corn for grain, so if you can see on your screen, I have checked the grain box. You wanted 100-day maturity, and so I've clicked the box there for the range of maturity that would best meet your needs. There are other attributes there if you wanted something that was a different type of corn, perhaps if it was also certified from a varietal purity standpoint by AOSCA. There may be instances where you're looking at some different colors of corn. So you can always modify that search, but very simply you click on what you need, and then what that does is it brings up the next page, which is a listing of all of the varieties within the seed database that will meet your needs. I want to thank Albert Lee Seed House, which is a seed provider up in southern Minnesota, for helping us, and they have helped us through the application process, working out the kinks and helping us to put that together. But here's what would happen when you have gone to your search. It will pull up the list of all the varieties that would meet those criteria that you have listed. On that, you'll see that in the case of Albert Lee, we have a blue highlight on those varieties. There's a very short description. Also on the right-hand side of each description, you'll see a date. That is the date at which that listing was last reviewed and renewed. And so it gives you some idea of how current that listing may be. Gets back to what I said earlier, that this is not intended as real-time inventory, but by virtue of seeing this, you'll get some idea of how current the listing at any one time might be. This is a printable page, and you'll also note that it's got a time and date stamp. And so what you can do is, if you want to put this as a part of your documentation for your organic certifier, you can print that out and make that a part of your file and your documentation as well. The certifiers themselves can also use this by accessing the site and verifying that there may or may not be varieties available for the type of crop or variety that the grower is looking for. Now let's say, for instance, we wanted to choose one of those varieties that appeared to meet our needs. You would go over to that highlighted blue area and you'd click on it, and then we will take a direct link back to, in this case, the page on the Albert Lee Seed Catalog that describes more about that variety. At this point in time, our potential customer is in direct contact with the vendor by virtue of the link to their website. And any further contact as far as learning more about the product or making a direct sales relationship at that point in time, the searcher, the purchaser, can then contact any of the vendors listed on the website. One of the things I want to mention, too, is that we are also aware that there are some seed companies that don't always have a website. And in cases like that, if they have selected a variety that doesn't have a direct link to another website, we do link that back to addresses, phone numbers, and contact information that we will provide within the database itself. So we don't want to exclude any smaller seed vendors that may not yet have a presence or the ability to go to the web. Okay, I pulled up another one here. I'm going to use a couple more examples of how this might be used. Let's say, for instance, now that you actually are more of a vegetable grower, and you're looking at growing some corn for a local farmer's market. You grow sweet corn. You need something in a 75 to 80-day maturity. There also might be some disease resistance characteristics you're looking for. So you go to our website at Organic Seed Finder. You go to the home page, and I'm going to pull up a screenshot of that. In this case, for my example, you would have clicked on the vegetable linking. And so you click on vegetables. It will then take you to a list of vegetables. Here again, please recognize I've only got a couple of vegetable listings here that I'm showing for today's presentation. But there are many, many listings of vegetables available. But in this case, and for this example, you would click on corn. It will bring up the attribute boxes or the characteristics that you're looking for. In this case, as I mentioned, you're going to grow for a local farmer's market. You're going to grow sweet corn. You need something in the later maturity. You check that box. And in this case, you do want something that, in this case, has some disease resistance to Stewart's wilt. For each of the vegetables or crops we're dealing with, if there are disease resistance characteristics, we will list those individually by crop type. Once you've got your boxes marked, then you would hit search, and at that point in time, it would bring up, in this case, there is one variety on that, and this is one we've used for an example that Albert Lee, once again, is put on there. But it meets the criteria of the search. There may have been many more, but in this case, only one. And so here again, there's a direct link to brocade sweet corn. In this case, you would click on that, and then that would take you by a direct link back to the vendor. And from there, you can take your initiative and to contact them for further information. One more example I would like to give you, just to show you how quick and easy it is let's say that you're also, here again, going to that farmer's market. That's who you're producing for. In this case, let's say you're going to be a tomato grower. I'm going to click on vegetables again. And in this case, you're going to be wanting to grow some cherry tomatoes. And you would click on on tomato, excuse me. And here we've got different types of tomatoes, maturity ranges and colors. In this case, let's say that you want to look for cherry, tomato seed, orange in color, and in this case for any diseases that you're particularly worried about, but you could click on those as well if you wanted to. After clicking search, it would bring up the listings. In this case, we pulled up one that Enza Zayden Seeds has provided to us. Here again, it tells a little bit about the variety itself. It'll tell you the date that it was last listed and refreshed on the database, and then with a click on the hot link to that particular variety will take you to the seed catalog that the vendor has given us. And then from there, it's a matter of navigating through their catalog or by direct link to the page that they may have wanted you to go to. So what I want to do was just to give you a very a quick snapshot of how the database is set up and how the database works. I think we've tried to stay true to our principle of keeping it very quick and easy. It's also very fast, so that as you're going through there and looking for the different crops and those characteristics, or if you want to modify your search, it's very easy to do so. I mentioned once again, and I want to highlight it here, that up in the upper right-hand page of our home page, you'll notice a little question that asks, couldn't find what you need. And if, in fact, you're looking for a crop or a variety and you couldn't find it on the database, if you click there, it will link you back to a little mailbox where you can tell us what you're looking for. We're going to be keeping track of those requests sharing those with our vendors, and so the seed industry is getting feedback on what its customers are looking for. So where we are today is that we're eager, like I said, to be introducing you to the Organic Seed Finder database. We're going to be putting some final touches on it. We're currently and will continue to enroll our vendors. We're also working with our sponsors. They're helping to underlie or to put the expenses on the development of the database, and then we will have a public launch on October 1st. You'll see our actual web address is organicseedfinder.org. There's really nothing there yet because we have not yet enabled the database, although it's running in the background. But what we would like to do is encourage you, if you have any questions about the database itself, if you're a potential vendor who would like to list your seed on the database, we'd like to have you write us. And there is our address at organicseedfinder@aosca.org. And so when we hear from you, we'll be communicating with you back with you if you're a vendor and you would like to list your seed on the database. We'll be getting an application to you and working through that process with you. So I think with that, we're ready for questions. We've given you maybe just a very quick overview, but I hope that we've met the expectations that Christina told you about that the organic community had, and I hope that we've got something that will be of value and will be very useful as we all try to promote and encourage the ongoing use and the growing organic seed industry. So with that, I guess I'll turn it back to the moderator, and we'll take any questions from there.
Thank you, Chet and Christina. We are now ready to move to the question and answer session. And as a reminder, to pose a question, you are going to find the question box on your control panel. It's right on the right-hand side of your screen. You'll just type in your questions and hit return. And if for some reason the question box is closed, you can click on the small plus sign next to the word question to open it up. I will be reading the questions out loud to Kiki and Chet, and we'll answer as many as we have time for. So go ahead and type in your questions, and while you are doing that, I wanted to mention that we really do value your feedback, so we'd very much appreciate it if you could fill out our follow-up survey, which you will be receiving in an email following the webinar. And I also wanted to remind you that this webinar is being recorded, and you will be able to find the recording on our website. That address that's right up on your screen there. Okay, so let's go to the questions. Okay, here, sorry. Got quite a few in the queue already. And I'm just going through. Oops. Okay, so first question. If a variety sells out but we're keeping it in our product line pending new crop delivery, should it remain in the seed finder or should it be removed until it's back in stock?
Okay. Well, that's a good question, and it's one that we had an example of that on one of the screenshots that I showed. And so what probably we're going to encourage the vendors to do is that there's a little message put sold out over the top of it, as we did in that case. And then as it becomes available again, we can remove that, and essentially then it goes back on the market.
Great. This question comes from Ecuador. We have an organic teaching farm in Ecuador. Will you have listings for crops and fruits suited to the tropics?
Well, first of all, greetings, and we're happy to have people from that far away on the webinar today. There's nothing to prevent us from doing that. We haven't really given much thought as to how extensive or how many listings like that there might be, but there would be nothing from preventing us from doing so.
Wonderful. Will you have an heirloom variety area?
We've discussed that, and we may in the future have that. There's a lot of expandability built into the database and the way that it functions. And so heirloom is one of those areas that we've discussed, as well as some others as well. For today, we're focusing on the organic listings as I've shown them here. But if we get the feedback to where it's interesting and worthwhile, we certainly can consider building that in.
This person says, I see that one corn variety is indicated as conventional. Why is this on the list? Can we assume that others are actually organic? Yes. So maybe if you could talk about the types of seed varieties on the list, that would be great.
Okay, yeah. What we're going to be listing, and that may have just been a carryover from some other characteristics. So please keep in mind that what you saw today were screenshots and examples. But what we're looking at today would be the organic listings, and what we're going to do is, as we're working with the companies that list with us, we're going to be asking for verification that the seed that they're placing on the website is considered a certified organic seed. But in the future, here again, expanding it to different types of seed, if it's warranted, is something we'll certainly consider.
And so, just to clarify, Chet, this question kind of goes along with that. So, this person was interested in non-GMO versus organic. So, for the purposes of this seed finder, it's purely certified organic seed. Yes.
As of this time, it is. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But here again, we have built a lot of expandability in it, and the working groups that have advised us, we wanted to make sure that we had that flexibility down the road. So that, yeah, like I say, we can expand that in the future to different types if that's of value.
Okay. This question asks, is the site available for labelers, distributors, and retailers?
Well, I guess I'd have to get a little more clarification on that. I mean, the site is intended for those who are selling, the seed vendors themselves, If they're getting at other types of organic inputs and that kind of thing, it's not intended for that. At this point in time, we're looking at seed and is intended for seed listings that our vendors would put up there.
Okay. And if you were a seed vendor, how might you get involved?
Yeah. Getting back to that final slide that I showed, if you would email us at the Organic Seed Finder at eosca.org, that's a mailbox, of course, dedicated to it, and we'll get back in contact with you. Also, I see that we don't have our telephone number, and I always want to be conscious and mindful of folks that may not have access to the internet, although, of course, all of you do. But let me give you my telephone number as well, which is not there, but it's area code 309-736-0120. And so by email or by telephone, please contact us, and then we'll make sure that your company can find out how to get active and enrolled on the database.
Great. Thank you, Chet. A question for Kiki. Kiki, could you talk a little bit about the members of the working group or how that came together?
Absolutely. The working group was made up of different stakeholders in the organic community. We had the Accredited Certifiers Association, for example, representing the viewpoints and needs of certifiers. We had several seed companies participating. I guess I can take this actually as an opportunity to thank some of those seed companies, including High Mowing Organic Seeds, Vitalis Organic Seeds, Albert Lee, which Chet mentioned earlier. I might be forgetting some, so I'm sorry if I am. We had members of the organic food industry, including Organic Valley, Earthbound. We had Omri involved in the beginning, since they had an organic seed database for many years, helping to inform our process in the development of the database. Among others, we had, I think I'm forgetting another certifier and seed company, but that, again, it's a kind of a brushstroke of different members of the broader organic community participating, so that we did our best to, again, meet the diverse needs of the organic community by creating this tool.
Great, thank you. Is there any staff associated with the database that can assist seed seekers who may not have internet access?
Well, yeah, they could. The staff is being provided by eOsca, and we're doing this under our existing staff and the resources that we have. And so, as I mentioned earlier, to keep our costs as reasonable as possible, we don't want to overbuild resources and staff and that kind of thing. That's why we're hoping to make as much of the access through the internet as possible. But I would encourage people that have difficulty with that giving us a call, and we'll do all we can to help walk them through it. But we don't envision the time, at least now, when we would print the listings or anything like that are on the database. But we certainly would make every attempt to help people find what they're looking for. And if that's take some direct contact to do that, we'll certainly do our best.
Great, thank you, Chet. So just so folks know, there was a question about that email address for vendors, and we've put both the phone number and the email address in the chat pods so that folks can see that. Okay, so let's see. Organic cover crop seed, where would that be under the other category? Where would we find that?
We'll probably put that under the field crop, I would imagine. In fact, I'm going to qualify that just for a little bit because we've gotten a lot of good guidance from the folks actually in the organic seed sector. Maybe there's a better place to list that, but at first blush, I would think it would be more of a field crop. And as time goes on, we'll have instructions on the home page and elsewhere in the database that will kind of help people find what they're looking for. But initially, probably a field crop, I would say. But we'll make it easy to find if we have those kind of crops listed on the site.
Great. How has the response been from seed vendors thus far?
It's been outstanding, and we're very, very pleased with the, I guess, amount of enthusiasm. We're very encouraged. When we started this process several months ago, the organic industry, Christina and her folks, told us how eager that everyone was for this to be initiated, and that certainly has been the case. So we're very, very eager to start. Just had a lot of interest in it, and I'm sure that with as many people as we have on the line today, we'll have even more once now that we've really kind of formally launched it and talked about it in public.
Great, and sorry, I'm just jumping around here a little bit based on the question queue here. So for vendors, what's sort of the turnaround time from when they sign up to, for example, if they sign up now, will their listings be available upon that launch date?
Yeah, that's certainly our intent, and the application process that we use internally is pretty quick and efficient. And so, and we know that as time goes on, we'll hopefully even get better at that. But it's our intent that certainly anybody that wants to be listed will be and has made contact with us in a reasonable amount of time are going to be on there when we have the October 1 launch.
And Chet, if you wouldn't mind, could you just talk a little bit about that registration process, just briefly?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I don't want to go into a lot of detail because it's a little bit cumbersome without actually having the application in front of a person. But it'll be over the internet. It'll be a internet-directed kind of an application where the vendor will there's a listing process, I guess I would say, where they put down the actual varieties, the crops that they're wanting to list. They provide us within the parameters of the database the characteristics that'll help the person search and define that variety. They're going to be able to type in an abbreviated description of it, and then we review that here in the office. If there are any questions, we get those ironed out, and then if not, it's uploaded into the database and will be available when it goes live. We'll also then be working with the companies to make sure that we have the internal links to their websites and or their seed catalogs, however they'd like the next step in the listing to take their potential customer once they've found it at Organic Seed Finder.
Okay. And there's a comment or a question on here that this seems like a good venue for smaller regional seed companies. And it is open to all seed vendors, yes?
Absolutely. It's open to all seed vendors that have organically produced seed to offer to the industry. And that is a good comment that the questioner asked. And one thing that was a real underlying principle is that we want to encourage all sizes of companies. And we hope that by accessing something like this, regardless of how big your company or how small it might be, you have the same amount of access to the same universe of buyers that anyone else would.
Okay, great. Are you finding any organic seed for ethnic vegetables? Asian vegetables?
Not yet that I'm aware of, no, but that could all change after this phone call is over, for all I know. As
right, we hope.
I'm just very, very confident that we're going to learn a lot about the industry, and we're going to have a lot of opportunity for listings and varieties once that we get this opened and launched, and then more and more people take advantage of it.
So the sky's the limit in terms of ethnic vegetables. I also see on here, will you list seed garlic, onion set, potatoes? It's basically whoever, if the vendors are offering that, it gets listed, yes?
Yes, but to a degree, and what I mean by saying that is that, and as we've been working with the advisory groups, we were all in agreement that, we've got in mind about how many crop types and that kind of thing we can deal with initially. If we may have to kind of draw the line somewhere. I'm hoping not to have to, but we're going to get as many as we can listed in as short a period of time as possible. And then as we have the ability to do so, we'll be listing maybe some of those varieties that may not be quite as high volume or quite as well known, but we'll do the best that we can over time to accommodate all that come at us.
Great. And will the database be able to do keyword searches? This person was interested in, for example, a certain variety like Brandywine for tomato. Okay.
I think we can be able to do that too, and we're just going to have to see if how frequently that's asked or whatever. We hadn't taken that route originally, but I think that the keyword search might be something that we can also build into it as well.
Great. And maybe this would be a good question for Kiki. Will there be any cross links with organic seed producers, not necessarily seed companies?
That's a great question. Not right now, at least with the initial launch. Organic Seed Alliance on our website, seedalliance.org, does have a seed producers database that strives to fulfill that need. We are in the process internally of exploring how best to improve and expand this resource. For now, it will remain on our website and will not be a part of Organic Seed Finder.
Great, thanks, Kiki. Back to you, Chet. Will your organization verify the organic status prior to allowing the seed to be listed on the Seed Finder?
That is a good question. And what we're going to be doing is asking all of our vendors to provide us with documentation that would accredit these varieties as being organically certified. However, that's about as far as we're going to be able to take it from there. I mean, I think at some point in time, finally, then the purchaser needs to satisfy themselves in their working relationship with the vendor that they are, in fact, buying the organically certified seed that they want. We're going to make that first attempt to make sure that we've got the documentation from the vendor, but the final responsibility has to lie with the purchaser.
Okay, great. And then will you be covering seed sources from outside of the U.S.?
For now, we're going to try to limit it to the U.S., but here again, let's see where it takes us, and as far as expandability, and go from there. But for now, we're going to be focusing in the U.S. in the near future, at least.
Okay. This question is if a particular variety is available from several vendors, how might that be displayed in the database?
That's a really good question as far as varieties like that and others that have, many that have access to it. It will be listed as a variety under the particular vendor that enrolls it into the database. And so if we have two vendors that have the same variety, that variety would be listed under each of their names. the listings really begin with the vendor themselves, and then the varieties that they are offering within their portfolio or their listing, in other words.
Okay, and then do you have a mechanism in place yet that will be a maintenance sort of thing, or a way to check the list for accuracy?
Yes, on a frequent basis through the year, we'll be contacting and working with the vendors to make sure that their listings are as current as possible. We've heard from the organic community, and it's just and it's good common sense that we want to make these listings as current as possible, and so that's something that we're going to be maintaining so that the list is meaningful and current. So it will have frequent contact with our listing agents or listing companies.
Okay. How about other types of planting stock? Is it going to just include seeds, or is there a plan to do to include organic planting stock such as raspberry canes?
We do have a third area in there. We're going to start with the field crops and vegetables, and then very quickly move into other types of crops. But for now, we're going to work on the field crops and vegetables. Here again, it's a matter of timing and what we can handle as we're getting it kicked off. So if there are, I guess I'd ask for folks to be a little bit patient with us as we grow and get into this. I think all of us that were on the design and working committees are only guesstimating at the number of entries and how rapidly the database will grow. So be patient, and we'll do all that we can to promote as much of the industry as we can.
Okay, I think this question is from a farmer or someone who wants to buy the fine seed. Is registration needed to access the site?
No, it is not. And so for those purchasers, the farmers or growers themselves, or for the organic certifiers or anyone that wants to find the information, there is no registration. It's open access. So long as you have access to find the database, you're going to be able to search and use the information that's located on it.
Okay. We have a few questions about the database and the NOP regulations, knowing that you're not a regulator. So I'm just going to read one that's sort of representative here. It says the NOP currently requires organic growers to search for equivalent organic seed before buying non-organic. Have you heard from any growers on whether they want to use this database to satisfy that search requirement?
I think that was one of the purposes and goals for the project, is that it would allow a grower to use the site for that purpose, and so I think that would be a tool that they might want to consider using. And as I mentioned earlier, when a grower is using it to look for a variety, there's going to be the opportunity to print off the pages that either show the listings or show that there may not be listings for what they're particularly looking for. So it's a tool to use. It's not a requirement to do so at this point in time, but it's just a tool to help the vendors and the potential purchasers find one another.
Okay, and can you tell us how this database might interact or supersede or replace the OMRI database? Is there been any discussion about that?
Our database is very specific to finding seed only, and as of the first of this year, the OMRI database for seed was withdrawn. I don't think it's actively in place anymore, although OMRI, of course, is very active. But our intent is to deal only with the seed sector and the information regarding it.
Okay. I'm just seeing if there's any questions that we haven't gotten to here. I think that's about all for the questions. Any final thoughts from you, Chet or Kiki?
Well, sure, Deborah. I'll just kind of wrap it up from my perspective. I want to thank everybody for participating today. We were overwhelmed by the interest, as shown by the number of people that signed up for the webinar today. So that it tells us that we're on the right track, that hopefully we're providing a tool and a service that everyone involved in organic production is going to find useful and valuable. So we're going to be eager to kick it off here and working very hard the next 30 days to make sure that we have something that's of great value and use to the organic community. As I mentioned, I hope that folks will be patient with us as we learn and grow and evolve over time. And toward that end, we're going to continue to really value the relationship that we have with Kiki's organization and the others who have played a big role in helping us and advising us on the design and how to promote and how to make this a good tool for the organic community. So thank you all. Please don't be shy about contacting us. We've provided our contact information through some media releases over the next few weeks. I'm sure that we'll be continuing to promote the Organic Seed Finder database and letting everyone know when it's ready and ready to be used for the upcoming season. So thank you all for your time, your effort, and I do look forward to hearing from anyone that might have ongoing questions. So Deborah, thank you. I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Kiki, any last words from you?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today and remind you that we are still looking for sponsors of the database. The database is supported both by sponsorship dollars as well as seed vendor user fees, which Asta can tell you more about if you're a vendor interested in participating in the database. But do get in touch if you want to participate either as a vendor or sponsor, and we look forward to your general feedback as well. So thanks.
Great. Well, thank you again, Chet and Kiki. I'd also like to thank all of you in the audience today for your questions and mention once again that you can find the recording of today's session as well as eOrganic's other webinars at the link on your screen. And that concludes our webinar. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.